Hello and welcome to Reopening Hamilton County Schools, a video program where we try to share information about how we're going to reopen schools, what it may look like, and choices for parents. In this segment, we're going to be talking with Brecken Duckworth. Brecken is the middle school English language arts content lead and one of the lead people working on HCS at home for Hamilton County Schools, making sure that families have choices that will work for them this fall. And Brecken, we worked with families through our surveys, and we understand that there's a broad spectrum of how people feel about going back to school this fall. Some are just ready for the kids to go back to school and be there in person, and some still not so sure about that. So we put together this HCS at home to help those who are still concerned about going back to school, but they still want to be connected with their home school. So tell us about HCS at home. What's it all about, and what does it mean for parents this fall?
Absolutely. Thank you, Tim. So we're really excited when we heard from our parents that we had 30 to 50% of our parents wanting a remote option. We really thought hard about what this could look like to make sure that our kids were getting the best learning opportunities for the fall. And so we're really excited with what we came up with. With HCS at home, students will be able to stay connected with their enrolled school. So whether that's their neighborhood school or their magnet school, they will be able to stay there. They will have their teachers at that school and still be in classes with some of their peers that they saw last year. So I'm going to turn it over a little bit and look at our website to kind of talk through some of the nuances of this option. So if you go to hcde.org/HCS at home, you'll be able to find a lot more information about exactly what HCS at home will look like. So we start with a letter of the overview so that this is telling you about how your children will still have opportunities to take electives. They'll still have a full course load while in HCS at home. And they'll also be able to participate in extracurriculars and athletics as they're offered at our schools. One key part that we want you to look at is that we've created this graphic to really outline the differences between HCS at home and enrolling in the full virtual school. We've had a virtual school for the last few years here in Hamilton County, but we do want parents to know that this is a very different option than HCS at home. If you're enrolling in the virtual school, you are completely unenrolling in your current school. So if it was a magnet school, you would be losing that spot for the year. And it's more of a self-paced environment at the virtual school, whereas at HCS at home, we'll be following a similar school schedule as to whatever. If you're a 9 to 4 school, then we'd ask that your students available for learning from 9 to 4. Each school will be a little bit different. So if you're attending East Ridge Middle School, then you will be attending East Ridge Middle School at home, not just HCS at home for the next school year. So some school schedules could look different, but we do ask that your student is available for learning at the times of which that school is open. So if you have a 7:15 to 2:15 school, we ask that your child is available to meet with teachers. There could be some small group learning, some individual conferences, or some full lessons. Now with that though, there's still some flexibility in the schedule. There could be times in which an assignment is just due over the next couple of days and that students don't need to be glued to their computer for that full 6.5 hours of the school day. So we want to make sure that we're really cautious that kids aren't just on their computer all day. But we are really excited about this option. I think that we had some great successes in the spring when we unexpectedly had to go home, but we've had a lot of time over the summer and even in the spring to help plan for what the fall will look like. We're really excited about these options. Also to note, there will be more accountability for students though. So unlike the spring, we have been asked by the state that attendance will still be required daily, and we will still be doing grades. So in the spring, we're a little bit more lenient on grading policies. The students enrolled in HCS at home will have the same grading policies as that school. So if work's not turned in, students could get a lower grade for that. Other big things to keep in mind is to make sure that you've signed up for HCS at home by July 22nd. The default option on PowerSchool, and I should scroll down. So we have a full video of instructions on how to get to PowerSchool and actually sign up for your learning options for the fall. Do note that it needs to be done on a computer browser. You can't do it through the PowerSchool app. But the default option will be for your child to return to the school building and be learning with whatever phase we are currently in. Option 2 is HCS at home, so the one that we've been talking about here today. and you would actually need to go through and fill that out on PowerSchool before July 22nd in order to have your students signed up for that.
That is, you're right. The HCS at home is basically one of three options that you have for this fall for parents. Not the only option, but an option that parents have. And they need to be familiar with those three options. And then very important, I think, for them to watch the video. A lot of people want to just jump right into registering, but the video, I think if you take just a few moments to watch that, will make the process much simpler for you, so you know exactly where to find things and where to look for what you have to click in the registration process. So I would recommend parents definitely take just a couple of minutes, because it's a short video, to watch the video so you know exactly what the process is as you're clicking through PowerSchool to register.
Absolutely. The other thing that I would point out on the website is that it's a little bit, where is it? Right up here. So it's a little bit hard to see, but there's actually a link here to a guide. And so I'll pull up that one-page guide. So there's a one-page guide. It's a PDF. We have it in English and Spanish. And it gives you an overview. It has that same graphic here about HCS at home versus the virtual school. But it also gives you a sample schedule. And so this is what I was speaking about earlier. If you read through the sample schedule, please note that this says this is what your day could look like. And so this gives examples of throughout the day, there are times in which a student is live with the teacher and they're actually working alongside and talking with that teacher and able to ask questions. But you'll also see activities such as, if you look at 11:50 to 1, on this sample schedule for social studies, the student was jumping onto a Zoom call to connect with a group of their peers to work on a project. So there's other things that are a little bit more flexible, or you'll see in science, there's, they're exploring a phenomenon in science, which is really big in our curriculum, and then writing an explanation to turn in later to a teacher. So that would, even though it says 105 to 215, there's really some flexibility in when the teacher may be requesting for that to be turned in. It's not that the child would have to sit in front of the computer for that entire hour block to do it right at that moment. So just some things to keep in mind here. And then we also, another thing is that we have some really great new tools coming that we'll be using in the fall. And this will be for all students, not just our students at HCS at home, but we have purchased ClassLink, which this is not replacing Canvas. Canvas is our LMS, our learning management system. But ClassLink is going to help us make sure that students just have one username and password for every single other program we're using. So hopefully it's an easy, streamlined process for our parents and students to get onto all of our platforms that we'll be using in the fall.
Okay, so one thing as we're looking at this, a lot of people may be comparing it to the spring, and we really had to jump into that fast. And you've talked about this a little bit, but HCS at home is completely different from the spring experience.
Yes. Yeah, so I think that we had some successes in the spring, and especially I'm so proud of our district with how quickly we were able to jump into digital learning so quickly. However, we do have a lot more pieces in place for the fall to ensure that there's accountability for our students. They will be accountable for their attendance, for their grades. We'll have similar procedures where if students aren't checking in daily, we will have to be calling home to check up on those students. We will be having teacher conferences if we're not getting grades turned in. There will be a lot more accountability measures for it to be more of that school community environment. We want to take care of your students. We want to help them learn throughout this fall.
Okay, if you close your, really as you look at this HCS at home, if your child is in this HCS at home, you're going to be, as far as what they're studying, what they're learning, they're going to be very much in line with what's going in the classroom. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. So they'll be using the same exact curriculum that we have in our classrooms. There won't be any different with pacing. If there are benchmarks that are being required in the regular school option 1 learning continuum, those same benchmarks will be happening with our HCS at home students. We really hope this is a great option for students in all ways to stay connected with their school. This should be the same curriculum, the same activities, the same teachers, in all aspects that will be connected to their school and ready to jump into the next grade level, no matter what environment they're in the following year.
Or even if things clear up and we've got a vaccine for COVID-19 in in the spring when we're ready to start
Absolutely.
second semester, they can jump right back into the classroom if that's what they wish to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Best case scenario here, we can do this for the fall, and then in January, we can pop back into classrooms. Students won't be behind. They'll be exactly with their peers who may have been attending school in person. Absolutely.
Very good. Thank you very much, Brecken, for sharing HCS at home with us and giving parents another option for this fall in Hamilton County Schools.
Excellent. We're excited to serve our parents. Thank you, Tim.
And that's it for our program for today. Thank you for joining us. I'm Tim Hensley, Communications Officer for Hamilton County Schools.